In this tutorial, we will be making a portfolio page with only CSS and HTML to display our projects and some information about ourselves. So no JavaScript required. Then we will deploy it for free using Netlify. To do this, all we need to do is push your project to GitHub, create a free user on Netlify, and deploy your project to GitHub repo. If you need to check out how to get your code on GitHub, I have a video on that too. This will produce your very own URL for your new portfolio page. The final product will look something like this, but just change a couple of strings for the text and the image URL to make it your own. The code for this tutorial is also available in the description. With that said, let's begin. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got here. I've already created a public folder with an asset folder inside. This will be all of the resources we will be using throughout the project, mainly pictures, images of different parts of our page. So for our footer, we will have social media contact information that will be available through a little icon like this Facebook icon and this GitHub icon and Twitter, YouTube, and yeah, that seems to be it. And then we'll have our projects that are, for me, you'll just change this up with your own projects, obviously. So this is my first project, and my second, and my third. So this will be the image representing my projects. And then this is my profile picture. So obviously feel free to change this up as you will. But if you want to access these pictures, the social media icon pictures, they are available on my GitHub. So just go over here and you can find them here, and then you can just download them directly from here. Here is the Facebook one, for example. So yeah, let's get on with our HTML. We will, as usual, just create our HTML boilerplate code using this option. That will give us this code. And let's just link our style sheet right now so we don't have to think about it and get mysterious errors. So app.css, then that should be hooked up. And we don't need the script tag because we will not be using JavaScript in this tutorial. So let's begin by creating the first section of our page, which will be the navbar. So let's just begin by creating a wrapper div that will wrap our the entirety of our content, our page content. A bit of scaffolding in respect to flexbox and positioning of our page. So we'll just make a bunch of containers and then the contents inside. So let's begin here. So we'll create another div. This will be our navbar container. Inside that navbar container, we will have two containers representing each side. So one left, one right. Navbar, we'll just say nav left container, I'll copy this using Alt Shift down. I'll just do right here. So now we'll have one left, one right. Inside of our left navbar container, we will have our logo. So we'll create an image tag. Here we need to link to our image, our logo image. For me, this is gonna be the same as the profile picture. So this one, but you can change it up as you wish. Do your own logo or your own profile picture here. Totally up to you. So let's just link to that. Then we need to access our public folder and then our assets folder, and then we find our image. So for me, that's right there. And then we'll attach a class to this image tag. Just say logo. And beside that image or logo, we will have another div tag, which will say just the name of our brand. And for me, that's Red Eye Media. And just give it a class of brand, like so. So here I have opened up my index.html file, so we can see what we got so far. So just the logo and then our brand text. And to open this up, you just navigate here. So you just open this, you go into your project directory and open this index.html file. And just do the browser you're most comfortable with. So yeah, let's continue. Now we created the left side of our navbar. Let's continue doing our right side. So this side will consist of 3 elements, 3 navbar elements. So one is about, and the second one is project, and then the contact link. So all these will be links that will navigate the user to a specific part of our page. So let's do that now. We'll need 3 divs. Let's just copy them like so. The first one will be about. Then projects. And then contact, like so. And I'm forgetting something actually. Before we do that, let's create, because these will be links, let's keep it clean or consistent, whatever you like to call it. Just create an A tag within here, and then inside that we will do the text. So about. Here too, A tag. We'll do the href in a minute. Projects. Not there. Contact, like so. And then we'll just say ID, representing ID, then the number symbol, and then about, because we'll create an ID for a part of our page when we get to that point with an ID of about. And then when we click this link tag, A tag, will be sent to that part of the page. Let's do the same thing for projects. Here as well, we will create an ID later that will have an ID of project. And the same thing here for contact. And now that we have all our elements for our navbar, actually this needs to be a nav element. This is mostly just because this is helpful for the one reading your code. That reminds them that this is a navbar element and should not be confused with anything else. That's kind of the downside of using divs for everything, because it could be a little difficult to read, because you don't really know what anything is supposed to be. But if you have a nav tag just like this, you intuitively know that this is navbar. So let's take a look in the browser and see how this looks now. So this is completely without styling. So this will now pretty soon be a navbar taking up the space in the upper part here. So let's take care of that now. So let's head over to our app.css file, which should be connected because we created a link tag in our HTML. And let's start styling our navbar. First, let's just take care of the HTML and body tags. So we have the default styling set up correctly. We'll just have a background color for the page in general, kind of a grayish color, and then set the font family to be this font, which I think is pretty nice. And then just the alts here, like so. So already, let's just see if that works. Yeah. So now we can confirm that our style sheet is connected. So let's continue with the actual styling of our navbar. Access our class navbar container, just the name of our class, brackets, and then inside we'll do display flex, make it a flex item. We will say justify content space between, because we want to style our left part and our right part of the navbar to be on each side. So the left one is at the leftmost side and the right is on the rightmost side, and it's space between. So pretty self-explanatory there. But you need to know that justify content actually does these things. So continue with align items, and we'll put them center. So this will be the vertical line, the vertical axis. We're centering everything so it's on the same line. And let's say flex wrap to wrap. So when the screen shrinks and there's no more room for anything on the page, it will fall to the row underneath. So it will essentially stack on top of each other. We'll give it a height of 90 pixels. Set the background color to this color, actually, blue violet. And here we will set the position of the navbar to be fixed, because we want the navbar to follow the scroll movement as we go down the page. We want the navbar to still be fixed on the top. And for that to be the case, there we have So yeah, like so. We'll set the position to be, not the position, I mean the top. Getting ahead of myself here, and then 0. So that will put it on the uppermost possible position. So if top was 20, that would be 20 units or pixels, I suppose, from the top. So a little bit down from the top. But we want it to be exactly on the top, so that will be 0. And then say width 100% because we wanted to span across the screen. Let's take a look at that in the browser. And now we have this violet banner, or whatever you want to call it. It's essentially navbar, but not yet. And we want to do some additional styling here so the items actually fit into it. So let's take care of that now. We'll continue with the nav left container. This will also be display flex. And then we'll say align items center, putting it on the same vertical axis. And then we'll do the nav right as well container. And here we'll just say display flex. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, so it kind of looks okay, but still not inside of our colored line here, so we need to fix that. Let's change the logo to be a little bit smaller. Set the height to be 45 pixels and a margin of 0, 20 pixels. This means that for top and bottom it's 0 and left and right it's 20 pixels. And let's say brand to be margin left 20 pixels because we want the brand to be a little bit to the right of the logo, and set the color to be white. And now everything fits because the image was pushing everything out. So that looks okay. We still need to have some spacing between here and take care of some of the styling related to the anchor tag. So let's take care of that now. Nav element. I actually think we forgot to, we forgot to add the class of nav element here. So here you can do Alt Shift and then you get to click on multiple lines, and that didn't work as expected. Actually taking longer to do it in the same go, so let's just do it one line at a time and copy after we're done. So nav element, have the same styling for the second and the third. So now this should look fine. Class of nav element and the href, and no particular class for the a tag. Yeah, that looks fine. And now we can create the nav element style. It will have a margin of 0, 20 pixels, just like the one above. Let's change the font size to be a little bigger, 20 pixels. Font weight, the thickness, we'll just put as bold text, and then the color to be white. This is just another way of writing white. You could say just white. Wouldn't really matter. I think at least that's the same color. Let's refresh. And now we're getting some interesting styling here. So what is actually happening here is that we got some extra div closing tags here for some reason that I didn't notice. So if we take those away and refresh, we get some styling that actually makes sense. So that looks good. Let's just take and remove some additional styling on the anchor tag. So let's insert some styles for our anchor tag here, just to make it look less like a default link. So to do this, it's basically just this style property, text decoration none. This will remove the line at the bottom of the text, and we'll just put the color, set the color to this white color. So with this, we have links that actually don't look like default links anymore. So, and we have, I just wanted to point out that we used flex wrap here. And the reason for that is when we shrink the screen like so, we see that this stays at the top, but these links, they get pushed down. So the left container and the right container, you see here, left container and right container. So it gets pushed down. Just wanted to mention that because that could have seemed a little random, but now you know. So let's continue with our HTML, and we will now do the next section of our page, which will be the text area with the title, then an image, or rather a subtitle, you could say, a title under the title, and then an image and a paragraph, just like a about area to display some information about the creator of the page. So yeah, this will be our next section. So let's figure out where this div ends. So this is the wrapper, and then the nav is there. So we'll begin down here. So this will be our wrapping div. We'll call this hero container because sometimes you refer to title areas of your page as heroes or hero part. It's multiple names. I don't quite remember exactly, but yeah, not that important. You can call it the title container. Doesn't really matter that much. Here we'll create a h1 tag, with an ID of about. And as we mentioned before, this ID will correspond to this anchor tag's href property. So when we click on this link, we will be sent to this part of the page. Next, we'll create a class of title, and we'll just say, hi, we are Red Eye Media, like so. And you'll obviously write whatever you like here. And we'll have a title, a subtitle, or a title, a lesser title here. I like to call it subtitle. Might be confusing for someone, but that's just my way of doing it. And we'll just say, please do, or nice to meet you. Check out some of our awesome project for beginner coders right here. So this will just be whatever suits your needs. This is basic. This could just be just as well been Lorem Ipsum text, example text. So this is the title part. Let's take a look at that. So now we are satisfied with our navbar, and we refresh, and we get this. This is not fully what we want, but we will style this with CSS in a minute. So now we have the hero container. So we'll create a different section. In my mind, this is the same section, but we'll create a different container for the about part, which will be the image and the paragraph. Just call this about container. Here we'll have an image, and this image will be probably an image of yourself, some kind of identifying image. So for me, that will just be our logo, which is this Red Eye Media picture right here. So the same as the brand, basically. And then we'll create a class so we can style this image and just call it profile image. And then we'll have a p tag class of about paragraph, and here we'll just have some example texts, Lorem Ipsum, and I'll just copy this a bunch of times. The space as well here, but obviously put in whatever text you like, just so we have some content on the page. This is not convention. Normally you'll just search up whatever the Lorem Ipsum paragraph is and just paste that in. There's a bunch of Lorem Ipsum stuff. Let's not focus on that here. Now we have the about section and our hero section that will make up the, what should I call it, like the about the information about the author of the page section, if that makes any sense. So let's head over to our styling. So we will style this. But first, let's just check out that we have it on the page. Yeah. So this is our content that we're about to style right now. So let's head down in our style sheet and create the class for hero container, which is the title and the subtitle. Let's make that a flex container. Let's set the flex direction to be column because we want them to stack on top of each other. Next, we'll set align items to center it vertically on the vertical axis. Also set text align to align the text to the center. And then we'll just put in some specific margins to make it fit nicely on the page. So top 150 pixels, right 30 pixels, bottom 50 pixels, and then left 30 pixels. So this is top, right, bottom, left. And let's see, yeah, we're missing semicolon there. So this is for our container. Let's see how that looks. Much better. So this is just this part. Now let's create some more detailed styling on our title class. Let's say it has a color of, I believe it's like so, kind of a, not black, but not gray either, like a darker gray. And let's say max width of 500 pixels, making sure that this title won't span more than 500 pixels. Next, let's make the style for the subtitle as well. And this will basically be exactly the same. So this could in theory be the same style. So it's a little bit redundant to have two styles that are exactly the same. Then you will usually put in just the same class name. But here we'll just let it be as it is because of readability, I guess. Not really a good reason, but we'll just leave it as it is. Then we'll set the about container, also a flex container. Set the flex direction to column again and align it center. Let's take a look at that. So this changed color. We're now not expanding more than 500 pixels, and the image got centered. So let's continue here. We'll style the image next. That's the class name of profile image, I believe. Yes, profile image. And we'll just set the height to 400 pixels and the width of 400 pixels, like so. And let's style the about paragraph as well. Max width of 500 pixels and a margin of 0 top and bottom and 20 pixels right and left. Let's take a look. Yeah, so this looks much better. Now we have the title part, our image, and our description or paragraph here. So yeah, this is looking better. Now that we have our about and hero part of the page done, let's do our projects section next. So let's just make sure that we're outside the right div. I'll create another div, and this will be our projects container, which will store 3 singular projects. So 3 projects in total, and we'll make a div for each of them. So we'll call this single project container, and we'll have 3 of those. Alt Shift down like this, and we'll take each one individually. So the first one will be the first is the text that represents our project, which will be, we'll just call this project text, and we'll have 2 elements in here. One title h1 that will just say I'll have the tic-tac-toe game as the first project, JavaScript, like this. And this we could call this project text container as well. Yeah, so let's call this actually project text container just to be consistent. And then we'll have a paragraph, and we'll just say JavaScript project. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Just fill in whatever you like here, and obviously the name of your project. And then we'll have an anchor tag in the same container, anchor tag, and this will point to our GitHub repository. I'll just put in a number symbol right now, so when we click on it, it will just reload the page, but we'll eventually put in the correct link. So we'll just say GitHub repo for now. And then outside of this div, we'll have an image, and this image will have the URL of the first project here, tic-tac-toe. And that's just a class, class of project image, like so. So this is our first project. So all of our single project containers will basically look like this, but I'll just write them out so we can at least the second one, and we'll see if the third one, if it gets if it's a little too repetitive. So let's take a look at how that looks. Yeah, so not exactly the correct styling, but we'll take care of that in a minute. So let's just continue doing the next part here. So we need the div for our text, class of project text container. And this will have an h1 tag, like so. And this will be rock, paper, scissors. And then a paragraph tag, project, rock, paper, scissors. I won't spend so much time on this because you can just fill in whatever suits your needs. So yeah. And then our a tag to our repo. And then we'll need our image outside of the div tag, inside a public assets folder, and this will be the rock paper scissors game. And we can't forget the class of project image, like so. So now we have our two projects. Let's do the last one. Inside here, let's just copy it because now we're just doing the same thing. But let's make sure that we're not adding something we shouldn't. And this will be Flexbox tutorial, how to do backgrounds in CSS. And we need to change this to flex background, like so. And then this should look okay. Let's check it in the browser. JavaScript, rock, paper, scissors, title, paragraph, link, and image. Title, paragraph, link, image. So that looks okay. Now let's head over to our CSS document and style this. Okay, now inside of our style sheet, let's start adding the styles for our projects container. And we need to be specific with the spelling here because just one wrong character makes the style not doesn't attach the style. So be mindful of that. We'll make this a flex container. Flex direction column, stack on top of each other, align items in the center on the vertical axis, and just put a margin of 100 pixels top and bottom, and 0 left and right, like so. Let's style the single project class as well. Let's just put a margin of 30 pixels top and bottom and 20 pixels left and right. And then our project image. And just set the height to 400 pixels just to make the image smaller. And we need the, actually we can put the project text container style over the image because it's we see that before the image tag in our HTML, just to tidy things up. And this will be max width of 400 pixels. Let's take a look at this. And it seems this one's correct, but we're still getting very huge images. So I realized that the error we were seeing was because the style of the image wasn't imported correctly, because our style, our class name was spelled wrong. So this is case sensitive. So as I said, be mindful of the spelling. So now the project image should correspond to this, and we should see smaller images. And we do. So now all our projects are kind of the way we want them. We'll add some responsiveness to it as well, because now if you shrink the screen, it will not allow any smaller, it will not be shrink down. So we need to fix that later. So next, let's take a look at how we can add a footer element at the bottom. Now let's begin making our footer components. So this is the end of our projects container. Let's make another div that will hold our footer. So this will be our footer container. And inside here, we'll have another container, which we will call contact container. Like so. And inside here, make an h3 with the class of footer text, which will be the basically the title. And here we'll add the ID of contact, which will serve the same purpose as the about ID we put in here. So this will be the contact ID link. So now that we have made that, let's just say contact info, like so. And this contact container will also hold our social media container inside of it. So this will just be another div, social media container. And this will just be a row of different icons, which you can click and send you to the corresponding social media platform. So here, this will just be an anchor tag. And for now, we'll just put in the number symbol. But inside the anchor tag, we'll have an image tag. And this will actually hold the image or the icons. So the first one, we will make Facebook, and just want to note that we add the target property here and say blank with the underscore first. This will ensure that when we click this icon or this tag, anchor tag, this will open a new tab in our browser. So it will not just go directly into the website and taking us away from our page. So this is basically it, and we'll make just the same for all our other icons. Here, instead of Facebook, we will have Twitter. This will work exactly the same. And underneath here, we will have Github. And then you can just put in as many as you like. If you have some other social media platforms that you rather use, feel free to do so. I'm just using what I have currently been using. So yeah, totally up to you. YouTube should be here. And I think that's it actually. Let's take a look. So this will be at the bottom. Huge icons. We'll fix this in a minute. And we'll just have one for our brand logo as well. Just this one. Not that important. Just put in, as I said, whatever fits your needs. And yeah. So now that we have that in place, for every image, we actually need to attach a class here as well of icon. So we can style this, make it a little more fitting to our footer. Just paste this in for every image. Like so. And this A tag will also have a style. So we need to attach a class here as well. This will be icon container. We need to attach that to every A tag as well that holds a image tag inside of it. Like so. And I hope I'm not forgetting anything. I think that's fine. And this is the closing tag, I suppose. Underneath that one, let's just make another div with class of footer text and just attach email address, media. It's actually Red Eye Pro. So here, obviously, your own email. And then this closes there. And then you can just say with the p tag made by, in this case, Red Eye Media, like so. Let's take a look at that. So there's still huge, yeah. So all of this will end up in our footer, which is not going to be this huge. We'll style this. So let's head over to our style sheet, and this will be the last section of our page. So this will be the last styles we attach, starting with the footer container. So this will be display flex, justify content, actually flex start on this one because we want it to be at the left side of the footer. And we'll actually, yeah, it will start at the left side. We'll do some manipulations here. We'll change this when we want it to become more responsive at the end here. So it will make more sense when we see it in a minute. So align items center on the vertical axis, set the height of the actual footer to be 300 pixels and the width of 100%. We want it to span across the page, and the background color of blue violet, just like the header. Just to make it consistent, this doesn't have to be the case actually. Sometimes you have different colors on the header and the footer. It's your personal preference here as well. Then the contact container will also be display flex, and we'll change the direction to be column to stack on top of each other. And then we'll put in a margin to the left of 200 pixels, so it's not totally to the left, but has a little breathing room. And then our footer text, I suppose we made footer text. Yeah, it's still footer text. Footer text. And then just set the font size to something a little bigger. And then the color to white. Like so. And then our social media container, just say display flex, don't need anything else here. And our icon container will be just put in a margin of 10 pixels in every direction, just to have some space between each icon. And then the actual icon, which is our image, or yeah, the little icon image, instead of being huge, we'll just set it to height of 30 pixels and a width of 30 pixels, like so. Let's take a look at that. So this looks a lot better. Let's see, when we shrink this, we need to do something about this because this is currently not responsive. This part is actually responsive to a degree. Here it kind of doesn't agree anymore, but that's not our biggest concern. This is actually much worse, because if we switch over to mobile view, this is what we see. And this is kind of, especially, yeah, here we see responsiveness. Our header is actually okay. This part is kind of okay. This image should probably be scaled down somewhat, but this should be changed. And this as well, because this makes no sense. You just want to still be able to see all of the content if you shrink it down. So let's take a look at how we can change that now. Okay, so in this part, we will try to make the page a little more responsive. And to do this, we will use media queries. So the syntax here is at media, and it's a few ways of doing this, but we'll just keep it simple. So max width, saying that this style will only work up to this width. So from 0 to 768 pixels, this style will occur. And if we go beyond that, it will not. It will stop functioning, you could say. So we'll attach this to project image, each image, because we want it to shrink down when the device we're using is the screen size is smaller. So we'll just set the height here to 200 pixels, make it a little smaller. And then we'll put a style on the contact container as well, because that has currently margin left of 200 pixels, which is as we saw was too much on smaller screens. So we'll just put that to 20 pixels. And while we're at it, let's put an additional style on our profile image, just to shrink it down a little bit. And we'll put this on top to reflect that this is higher up in the document than these are. So let's just say 300, 300, like so. Let's take a look at this and see if the page is actually responsive. So now we see the width here. It's really tiny, I suppose. But now it says 600, 595, 615. So we're still beneath the border or the threshold for the style to deactivate. So it's active now. And we see the difference here. We see almost no margin, only 20 pixels here. And the images are much smaller and they fit on the screen much better. And this image, I suppose, is 300 times 300. So this is much more responsive now, and we can actually have it on smaller screens. And if we go back up, the images gets bigger and we get the margin back. And this image as well gets bigger. So now our site is a little bit more responsive with just a few lines of code. So next we will just attach the links so we can actually use this site to go to wherever we need to go when we click these links, and we'll do some cleanup just to make the site a little bit better. Okay, so a few things that needs to be looked at that I realized were not totally working correctly. First, this image tag in each A tag that represents our icons. The target property should not be on the image, but rather the anchor tag. So just change that up so it's on the anchor tag and not the image. So I'm just doing it like this because I am trusting that the formatting will format everything nicely when I click save. But if you can't do that, just do it neatly and not quick and like crazy like I'm doing it right now. So I click save. That looks all right. So target here, target, and yeah, that looks fine. Let's just make sure that that works. Refresh, and down, go to the YouTube. and we see the Red Eye Media YouTube channel. So just assume that it works for everything else as well. Another thing is that our nav elements are not pointing to the correct part of the page for our projects element. So contact, about, and contact works, but not projects. So we need to fix that as well. So in our projects container, let's just make an h1 tag that says my projects. And this will have an ID of project. This is important, as mentioned before, because we need this to correspond to an ID on the page, which wasn't the case until now. So now it should actually work. Projects, and then we're here on the page. That works fine. So just a little detail that I've seen on some pages before is this little heart icon. If you just Google this, you can copy this heart. This is totally unnecessary, but if you like to add this, that's how you get it made with, paste it in. I think that's pretty neat, like so. And then we see it here. Okay, let's assume that you're satisfied with how the page ends up now, and you want to actually deploy this page. You want it out on the internet for a future employer to be able to see, so you can see all the awesome things you've done and get to know you a little and how to contact you. Right now, this is just on your local machine, and probably not that many people will be able to see it. But let's change that. If we head over to Netlify, this is a super awesome page where you can actually deploy your sites for free. And you can actually do it with some bandwidth for free. So quite a decent amount of people can visit your site without it costing you anything. So when you're here, just log in, create a new user. It's free. You don't have to register a credit card. I'm not sponsored by Netlify in any way, just saying. And then here you can see I have this site created from before, but let's just do the process one more time. So do the new site, create a new site, and then the easiest way, I believe, or for me at least, was just to do through GitHub. This is, in my opinion, the easiest way to connect your site to Netlify. To be honest, I haven't tried any of the other alternatives, but that could be just as easy as well. Click GitHub, and you may need to log in here. Just enter your credentials, and then just search up your site. And select that one. Yourself as owner, and then the branch to deploy is the master branch. This is not so important for our purposes, so just hit deploy site. And that's basically it. Just wait for it to deploy. And now it should be all right. If you just hit the link here, we see that our site is actually on the internet. So in this case, the text is a little different. This is because this is the content that I had on GitHub from before. I haven't pushed the changes that I just made, but just push your changes to your GitHub repository and link it up as we saw like 2 minutes ago, and deploy that master branch, and you will be good to go. I hope this video was helpful for you. Like and subscribe for more content like this. And if you have a specific request, just leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. See you in the next one.